Heritage Round, 25 years of the Queensland Firebirds. They are here to celebrate, cheered on by a big crowd at Nissan Arena. So many past players in the house as well. The Firebirds off that big win against the Sunshine Coast Lightning, 82-54. And today against the Fever, who are unbeaten, 2-0 themselves, putting 82 on Sunshine Coast in round one before backing it up with a 17-goal win against Collingwood last week. Great to have you with us on Fox Netball. Matt Russell alongside a couple of Firebirds captains and multiple World Championship winners, Laura Geitch, Sharon Finnan-White. But Laura, to you first. Here's these lineups we touched on pre-game, and I suppose the big talking point is the Fever lineup with Verity Simmons to come off the subs bench. Yeah, well, we're so used, Matt, to seeing her in that centre position and doing a lot of damage in feeding that ball into Fowler. We mentioned in the pre-game warm-up, she looks firing and fit, so we can't expect that she's injured or sick in any way, that she won't be taking the court. But whether it is a tactical ploy, maybe from Coach Dan Ryan, just to mix things up a little bit. We know that Chelsea Pittman is in the mix today in that wing attack position. She's a very strong, steady player in that mid-court. So potentially whether he's just playing around with a few combinations there, but instead we see Kim Ravalian taking the court against Jess Anstis, when we thought we were seeing, obviously, Simmons in that role. Yeah, Kim Ravalian captaining the Queensland Firebirds, Courtney Bruce in charge of the West Coast Fever for Coach Dan Ryan. And just extending on that Chelsea Pittman chat, we know that Alice Teague-Neald is still suffering the after effects of COVID, so she's not out there for a second game running. And Chelsea Pittman, who was club champion at Adelaide in 2017, unbeaten at the Firebirds with you in 2011. She's back in Suncorp Super Netball, and we love seeing that. Last week she played with the Giants. This week she's with the club where she's actually contracted, or at least as a training partner, and that is the West Coast Fever. And I've said it once and I'll say it again, you have to take your hat off and respect Chelsea in the fact that she just wasn't done with her career. We know she spent that stint at the Adelaide Thunderbirds. She was captain of that club, but she just knew she wasn't done with netball. She took the opportunity that was thrown to her by Fever, and all of a sudden we see her out on court in the last two rounds. So it just goes to show the sacrifice that she's been prepared to make this season, and you have to take your hat off and just really respect that from Chelsea Pittman. Here's a star from last week, Ruby Bakewell-Doran, the young defender who, with Sunday Ariang in the opposition lineup, also young. They're supporting the likes of Courtney Bruce and Ebony Yasoro-Brown. So we are set for centre pass. Firebirds Fever, Suncorp Super Netball round 3, and we go at Nissan Arena. Danelle Wallam would love to land the first goal, and she does. A beautiful pass there in from Lara Dunkley. We've seen that in the last two rounds. Just has no problem with turning and delivering. Great work there, Ebony Azuro-Brown, getting that first little win against Fowler. Yeah, the two leading goal scorers, Danelle Wallam, 93 of 103 coming into this game. Janelle Fowler, 122 from 127. And there's the drive from Danelle Wallam. She slaps her hands. She scores the first two. Well, she has to be feeling confident, Matt, if she's happy to turn and do the layup on the second goal of the match. Now Buetta tries to go back to Wallam and does successfully. The first 3 goals to the Firebirds. What a start by the home team. Absolutely. This is exactly what the Queensland Firebirds would have wanted. A strong start. Coming out of the blocks, taking Fever by a little bit of surprise. You see Glasgow, though, just nails that first goal. She's been good for the Fever in the last 2 rounds. She's first for goal assist, 52. Obviously, Janelle Fowler on the end of many of them, but Fowler still yet to score today. Early minutes of the opening quarter. Wallam hands it off. And that's what's so dangerous about Wallam and Tippett, or Buetta, I should say, is that shooter-to-shooter pass. You just don't know where it's going to go, and it's just that last second that they're happy to dish off to the other. Glasgow and Kosh with the double play. And now is Fowler giving it for Anstis. Glasgow again with a bit of distance this time. The shot jumps out, and Ruby Bakewell-Doran grabs the defensive rebound.
A really strong start here from the Queensland Firebirds, particularly by the two ladies in that goal circle. Ruby Bakewell-Doran, you just mentioned Ebony Azuro-Brown. We haven't spoke about the fact that Azuro-Brown knows Janelle Fowler's game like the back of her hand. So we see there another shot for the Queensland Firebirds, taking them out to 4 goals. Azuro-Brown played with Fowler over at the Fever, so they've trained against one another. They know each other's games so well.
And they've played against each other as well. Azuro-Brown with England, Fowler with Jamaica on the international stage. But here's Danelle Wallam at the post. It's a gimme from there for Danelle. 28-year-old, plenty of people, given her recent arrival in Suncorp Super Netball, think she's younger than that. But there's still so many wonderful seasons ahead, given what she's shown us across the first 2 and a bit rounds.
Well, she looks like she's played here for seasons, doesn't she? She's basically just picked up exactly where Romelda George left off. Just see there from Glasgow to Fowler, finding her under the post for possibly the first easy pass into Fowler since the game's been underway.
So Fowler gets her first goal, 6-2 Firebirds. Before we get too far away from Danelle Wallam, worth touching again on the fact that the opposition coach, Dan Ryan, is in charge of Danelle as she scores again when they're at the Leeds Rhinos. So there might be some intel for the Fever on Danelle, but right now it doesn't look like they have a way of stopping her. She's 5 of 5 to open this one.
Well, Danelle is actually a WA athlete. She's come through the pathways over there. Oh, great work, Lara Dunkley. But she's been pulled for the contact. You can tell the intention of the Queensland Firebirds here, as we just see that replay, is to contest every ball. They are going so hard, and if they don't get it, they're recovering quickly and getting hands over pressure, just to slow the pace of the ball coming down court, which is such a strength of the Fevers.
Levatin for Huerta, who looks to get involved again now. The cross-court pass, she throws it away. It was taken by Stacey Francis Bayman, but the Firebirds get it straight back. Gee, a rapid sequence of handovers there.
Well, you've got some really big ball getters in defence when you're talking about the likes of a Courtney Bruce. She is in the top 10, or she is actually topping the charts for the top 10 players. Oh, Ruby Bakewell-Doran, she'll be there soon too if she's not careful the way she's going. But you've just got these players, as we mentioned in pre-match, that are happy to come out and win the ball for their team. It makes the game exciting. They're not happy, I should say, to sit back and just play the game. And already you can see this physicality playing out in the circle down here.
Just off the hands there of Bakewell-Doran. So Glasgow with the throw in, and she finds Janelle Fowler. Ruby Bakewell-Doran only playing her 6th National League game, but looking like she has far more experience than that over the last week.
Well, it was interesting to hear Megan Anderson after the match last week. We asked her, where have you been hiding Ruby Bakewell-Doran? And she said, we absolutely have been keeping her under wraps so nobody would steal her. So Megan Anderson knows what she's capable of. She's a promising young athlete that's come through, again, the Queensland pathway. She's played in the Sapphire League under the Cougars. She's a very, very well-known team here in Brisbane. So she's had all the right pathway and just making the most of this opportunity. But Courtney Bruce, that is hard to do. Incredible work just getting around the body.
Kosh through Glasgow, and on it goes now for Fowler. From close range, she gets it back to 1 the difference. A fast start by the Firebirds. Now the Fever have found their rhythm.
Already the little mental games coming into it too. You can just see the umpire there blowing the whistle and saying to Ebony Azuro-Brown, get that ball back as quick as possible. And that's what Ebony Azuro-Brown does so well. She plays the mental game. Oh, Ruby Bakewell-Doran!
Just throwing herself at the ball, unable to pick up. So Anstis goes to Fowler again, and we're locked at 7.
Just see there, Ruby Bakewell-Doran just getting that outside hand around. As you said, Matt, she's prepared to put a body on the line for anything out there on court.
Over the first 2 rounds, the common factor between these teams was that they both played the Sunshine Coast Lightning. The Fever in round 1, where they won 82-63. The Firebirds last week, where they won 82-54. So the record scores in Suncorp Super Netball, 82, achieved in round 1, then matched in round 2. These two teams head-to-head in round 3. Didn't that set it up nicely?
Absolutely, and speaking of setting things up nicely, we spoke about Janelle Fowler, Donnell Wallam, the fact you can just see here the nudge, the argy-bargy happening between Azuro Brown and Fowler. There is absolutely no love lost here, and this is going to be a matchup to keep your eyes on, because these two will go niggle the entire 60 minutes.
Well, Azuro Brown is a former Fever player. When it comes to the Fever lineup today, you've got Verity Simmons and Rudy Ellis, who spent time at the Firebirds. So a bit of crossover, which adds to the rivalry and the feeling out there today in what is a close first quarter, 8 minutes down.
Well, Fowler, she's sitting at 7 from 7 at 100%, now 8 from 8. And down the other end, Donnell Wallam, exactly the same. So the 2 goal shooters, as we expected, doing everything right at the start of this first quarter.
Well, Courtney Bruce hit the floor there, got up shaking her head, and as a result, Donnell Wallam was left all alone.
I think there might have been a little apology there from Donnell Wallam, saying, "I'm so sorry, I don't know how sincere it was though."
Janelle Fowler dropping in her 9th of the game. A perfect 9 from 9. Rebellion, Huerta, and it's Wallam again. Despite the best efforts of Bruce, thumbs up for the Firebirds.
Well, she's looking at home, isn't she? She just looks as though she's enjoying a netball. As a 28-year-old, you mentioned, we spoke about it a little bit before. Oh! Yeah, that was lucky for the Fever to get away with that, putting Fowler under pressure. She was 2-on-1.
I'm loving this defensive energy and intensity from Bakewell Doran and Azuro Brown.
Well, they're making Glasgow do the work, and they're just heckling Fowler. And that's clearly the intent and the game plan from the Queensland Firebirds, is to not let Fowler feel comfortable at any point during this game, because the minute out the front, view Fowler, I should say, and find the ball into her nicely, it's hard to stop that momentum. So they've recognised that early on they need to be a physical presence against her, and that's why they're playing that 2-on-1 structure.
Dunkley to Huerta, who goes back to her wing attack. Now Wallam, an aerial contest with Ariang, and Donnell Wallam gives it back to Huerta. Wallam. The first super shot, the first Suncorp super shot of the game.
It's tricky to say, isn't
It's
it?
a tongue twister week in, week out. We love our good friends at Suncorp. And the Suncorp super shot requires the tongue to be loosened nice and early, well before centre pass.
We've got to do our own warm-up now.
Absolutely. The Suncorp super shot. Try saying that 30 times quickly. Let's find Sharon Finnan-White, where the words always flow freely, Sharon.
To your comments, Laura, on Bakewell Doran, like, she's absolutely wearing Sasha Glasgow like a glove off that centre pass, that first phase, and also the second phase. And then she's got to get back into the circle to help Azuro Brown with Fowler. So, you know, it's a combination of mixing up when to do that as well, isn't it, Laura? But she's just having such an impact already.
Well, she is, Sharon. She's currently sitting at 23 miss and net points, 1 intercept, 2 deflections. We spoke about Ariang as well pre-match, the 2 matchups between the goal defenders. Ariang only sitting at 2.5 miss and net points. So you can see the injection from Ruby Bakewell Doran early on has been absolutely get in everything and have a go. And that's exactly what she's doing.
Another goal from Janelle Fowler, the one prior to that, really highlighting her height. 198 centimetres or 6'5" in the old scale. You saw O'Brien, Bakewell Doran there, but she grabbed the offensive rebound comfortably, it must be said.
Oh, and that's a coach killer, that one. But unfortunately for Lara Dunkley, just got pulled from the umpire as the attacking contact. So Fever get possession. Oh, Gabby Simpson!
Great energy, and the crowd appreciates that from Gabby Simpson.
Gabby Simpson has been outstanding this season so far. We know that her speed is second to none, but she has tidied up her game this season, and she is just winning ball, as we see there. Wallam, interestingly, going for the super shot, even though...
And nailing it again. The Suncorp super shot, Danielle Wallam, be it at the post or in the two-point arc, Danielle Wallam delivers.
Absolutely, she does. Firebirds just taking that one-goal lead in the last 2 minutes. Fever yet to sink a super shot.
A long way from home, and again it's Simpson. So she came into this game with 5 intercepts, top 5 in the league, Gabby Simpson. She's grabbed another already and went close there.
Well, Firebirds, they had 5 players in the team of the week last week, and they all seem to be, that was Revalian, Simpson, Bakewell Doran. Great little rebound there, though, from Sasha Glasgow. Finds Fowler under the post.
Back to Glasgow with the 2-point shot in power time. And she'll get a do-over here. Glasgow again, better second time around. Yeah, those players in the net points team of the week, Huerta, Dunkley, Revalian, Simpson, Bakewell Doran. That's what happens when you beat a team by 28 goals.
Absolutely, they were outstanding last week. But as we say, both of these teams play such an exciting brand of netball. You can see already miss there from Wallam. You can see already just that intent of that first ball contest going for absolutely everything for both of these sides.
Here's Sunday Ariang for the Fever, who was part of the Diamonds for that quad series against England prior to Suncorp Super Netball.
It's a nice little settler there for Fever, finding Fowler in some nice space. Normally that's what we're so used to seeing from Fever, is just that turn and delivery, but due to the Firebirds' defensive pressure today, it's just taking them a little bit longer, and also not having Simmons on the court either.
Lara Dunkley providing there for Wallam. She's now got 9 feeds on 7 goal assists. I'll come back to Dunkley in a moment as we look at Janelle Fowler, do what Janelle Fowler does, but yeah, Lara Dunkley, wing attack for the Firebirds. Coming into this one, she was second for goal assists, second for feeds, 73 feeds, 51 goal assists. A great start to this season, Lara Dunkley.
Yeah, she's had an outstanding start to the season, and also vice-captain of this club as well. We just see Gretel Boetta and Danielle Wallam there, though, pulling in that rebound.
Oh, the 2-point shot, the Suncorp super shot from Janelle Fowler. But quarter time sounds in the background and beats her. We don't see often. That was a rare 2-point shot, and it didn't get there in time, or did it?
I think it absolutely did.
Dan Ryan chatting with his shooting star, Janelle Fowler, as we hit quarter time. Not surprised by this scoreline. We're locked together after the first at Nissan Arena. Quarter time brought to you by Origin Energy. Dan Ryan having some final words to his Fever players before they take to the court for the second quarter. But at quarter time, we saw Janelle Fowler and Courtney Bruce, her captain, having words with the umpires. We'll check in with that in a moment. There's Fowler delivering what she thought was a Suncorp super shot just before we hit quarter time. Now, that wasn't awarded. We'll again investigate that and find out why Janelle Fowler hasn't been given a rare 2-point goal. In fact, let's go to Sharon Finnan-White right now. You spoke to the umpires at the break. Did it not find the net before time expired?
No, that wasn't the problem, Matt. It was one of her foot was actually outside the circle, so both feet must be wholly within the circle to take the shot.
Oh, there you go. That's a little bit unlucky for Janelle Fowler. We've been sitting here in that quarter time scratching our heads thinking, why on earth was was that goal not allowed because she just turned and delivered, knowing that the clock was running low. But a footwork error here from Donnell Wallam gives Fever possession.
Thank you, Sharon. Great to find that information. And what did you make of Courtney Bruce and Fowler speaking with the umpires as Wallam loses the ball over the goal line?
Yeah, interesting. Initially, I thought she was going over to question why that goal wasn't counted, but I think it's because of the close attention that she's being paid by Ebony Azuro-Brown. She's not happy with it. You could tell her demeanour in that quarter-time break on the bench. She was frustrated. She's the best goal shooter in the world, and to be honest, Matt, that is the only way you can break her down, is by actually playing the mental game, which Ebony Azuro-Brown is doing very effectively at the moment.
Glasgow scores for the Fever. It was a fast start by the home team, the Firebirds, out by 5 or 6 early before the Fever found their range scoring right-wise, brought Janelle Fowler into it, and it's been nip and tuck since then. Double play, Anstis and Glasgow, and the Fever get the kind roll.
Well, speaking of sitting and scratching our heads, I cannot for the life of me work out why Verity Simmons is still sitting on the bench. Sharon Finnan-White down courtside is trying to find out exactly why we are not seeing her out on court here today.
We'll go to Sharon in a moment, but a show of strength right there from Donnell Wallam to fight for her own rebound off the hands of Lara Dunkley out of court. Kosh for Glasgow, and now Anstis finds Fowler. Fowler 16 of 16.
And it's dangerous, isn't it, when you're talking about 2 quarters. Great work there, Sunday Ariang. Her footwork and her vertical leap just allowed her to get up to that ball. Let's see here, though. Oh! Courtney Bruce just looking at the umpire saying, "You're kidding me." You could see her line up Gretel Bueta. She knew this ball was swung across the circle and she wanted to front her and just really take that front or that swing space away from her. But unfortunately for Courtney Bruce, she was the one that was pulled for the contact. Lara Dunkley there.
The crowd is enjoying the effort of Lara Dunkley today. And again, look at Ruby Bakewell-Doran, maybe feeding on the lead of Dunkley with the intercepts. And now Simpson to Dunkley. Or Bueta. Here's Lara.
Well, Gretel Bueta finishes that passage of play so nicely. We see here Dunkley just try to tip that ball in, but Ruby Bakewell-Doran, the real star of that goal. Someone described her amongst the Netball Queensland fraternity earlier this week as though she has a healthy confidence about her. And I actually just thought, what a great way to be described. She's a young player, she's coming through, but she knows that the opportunity is there for her to take, and she knows that she's capable of it. So she's got this great, healthy confidence, and you can see that when she's playing. She's loving being out there, just going for absolutely everything.
Let's go back to Sharon Finnan-White, who might have an update on Verity Simmons being on the subs bench today, Sharon.
Yeah, so my sideline source tells me that the Fever are just trying something different. She's not injured. They just wanted to put something else out there, possibly just for the Firebirds to think about.
Well, she started her career with a couple of years at the Fever, went to the Firebirds for 2 years and is now in her second stint, her 9th year overall as a West Coast Fever player. Verity Simmons, there's Fowler scoring again. So still be locked together as Bueta uses Dunkley. Wallam wins the aerial battle with Sunday Ariang, and Wallam scores again. Pass well taken by Sasha Glasgow. Much work to do, but she did it well. No Francis Bayman. There's contact called on Revalian. Glasgow dumps it down low for Fowler. She goals.
Well, you have to suggest, Matt, I know we're not even at half-time, but are we heading into extra time with these two teams? There's not a whole lot separating them at present, goal for goal.
Ariang. Now Anstis. Francis Bayman fires her pass for Glasgow. And Kosh back to Glasgow, who likes the look. Hard off the rim, a miss from Glasgow.
Yeah, well, not even in the super shot period, and she's happy to turn and take that long shot. That's what she's good at. Trying to get the eye in early, maybe. But just draw that second defender off of Fowler. That's what Firebirds are obviously playing at the moment, is that 2-on-1 defensive structure.
Rebellion very close to the 3 seconds.
Yeah, well, that was a great defensive setup by the West Coast Fever here. Firebirds just having to...
Wetter with the first miss after being superbly fed by Dunkley, but Wallen with the clean-up.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. It was that pressure from the Fever. They made the Firebirds go back and reset and take the pass again. We see that uncharacteristic miss from Gretel Buetta.
So Fowler shooting here to level us again, despite the fact that the Fever have had 55% of the ball and conceded 6 fewer penalties to this point. So some positive signs for the Firebirds if they can find an equal share of the ball and cut their penalties. So we will have an HECF tactical timeouts with just over 8 minutes to play in the half.
Well, this is our first timeout of the match before we get a listen into Firebirds huddle.
Second place, but it works fine if you're on the line. You can roll out. They're not, straight back to Ravi works too on that when you get first place. Just stay nice and steady. And then if we swing it, because we're swinging a few of them, just try some screens in there rather than you trying to run all the way across the other side and then we're trying to...
So I can't get to like to screen properly, which is why you're doing that as well. I'll try and get that early.
Yeah, or change positioning in the circle so that it's just something different for them to look at, so that you're not always rolling top and see what happens. You're recognising a mismatch really well, so keep putting that in when you're Let's go, guys.
In 5 years of Suncorp Super Netball, the Queensland Firebirds have only been to the finals once. It was 2018. Of course, they've won ANZ championships 2011, 15 and 16 with the great Laura Geitz, part of all of them, and earning that magnificent statue at the front of Nissan Arena.
We're going to move on and talk about the Firebirds of present because they're far more exciting, Matt, I have to say. But just here we see a little error there from Wallam. Courtney Bruce just working her way into this game. We could hear Megan Anderson spending some time with Buetta and Wallam in that timeout call. She said, just start setting some screens instead of swinging the ball and running around so much. And that's credit to this Fever defensive end, what they've done. Well, but
look at Ebony Yasoro-Brown. She's fired up.
Is she ever?
The Firebirds want this win in Heritage Round in front of their home crowd, having been beaten on their home floor in round 1. They want a maiden victory at Nissan Arena early in 2022. You just saw the Nissan net points up on screen. Janelle Fowler, she had the most last season, running second this season, but she's on top today. The Fever goal shooter as Buetta goes to Dunkley. Wallam in the air. Not much there that Ariang or Courtney Bruce could do.
Well, it has to be one of the most frustrating things as a defender is just coming up such strong holding targets. Any opportunity that you get hands to ball, it's so important that those defenders or your teammates on the outside edge of the circle are mopping up the crumbs, because these wins are so hard to come by.
Anstice to Glasgow. She's too far from home. Now Glasgow goes to Fowler. And it's 26 apiece at the other end of the floor. Wallam, Courtney Bruce. It's an interesting matchup. Danelle Wallam in her first year of Suncorp Super Netball. Courtney in her 10th, her 5th as captain. So experience against youth and enthusiasm and size of Danelle Wallam.
Well, there exactly is what I just mentioned. The Firebirds first to those loose crumbs, and that's exactly what Lara Dunkley did. That rebound, Wallam went up, she couldn't pull it in. It's those 1%ers that can make such a huge difference come that final fourth quarter.
Fowler again. Let's go to Sharon Finnan-White as it's goal for so long. What are you noticing courtside, Sharon?
You're right, there's no easy ball. Every ball is hotly contested. Look, the Firebirds, for me, look the better team at this stage. I think the ball's coming down the court nicely. They're defending, they're going for everything. They're riding on the high. They're feeling good. They're looking confident. So, look, this is probably the closest matchup we've seen between the Fever and the Firebirds in quite some time.
An HCF tactical timeout. Let's listen in to Dan Ryan and the Fever huddle mid-court.
Behind us, just keep them off circle edge. Right? Everything we can to hustle. If they go into pocket balls, just crash as hard as you can on it. Right? We'll beat 10 up. Right? Yeah, cool.
Just that goals and awareness, so if goal attacks will be hard, we're not giving them a plus 5
That's what the first happening in right now. So you can attack the pass. Right, come in. All right, 5 minutes of big energy here. Let's go big defensive line, but all 7 of us hustling hard to put some pressure on them. All right, secure an attack. Let's go. Go,
The West Coast Fever still looking for their first National League premiership, third for the last couple of years. They've been to 2 grand finals, of course, in Suncorp Super Netball. They get to take that final step, and Dan Ryan is hoping 2022 is the year. Do you agree with Sharon, Laura, that while the scores are locked together, that it's the Firebirds playing the better netball at the moment?
Yeah, look, it is. They've obviously been really strong in these opening 2 quarters, but you just get the sense the Fever have still got something extra in the tank.
Oh, Danelle Wallam! Not for the first time this season. Great agility, off balance, saving the ball from the goal line and scoring.
Well, speaking of extra in the tank, when Wallam does plays like that, you actually don't know which way this game is going. That is why it is such an exciting matchup between these 2 sides. Glasgow puts a body on the line.
But the double team there from Bakewell Doran and Isoro Brown on Janelle Fowler worked for the Firebirds. Happy to let Sasha Glasgow take the shot. She missed. There was not an option to dump it down low to Janelle Fowler.
Well, that's the game plan, isn't it? They want to put all the pressure on Fowler and make Glasgow shoot out the game.
And Glasgow is 3 of 6. In fact, she's 4 of 7 if you include the Suncorp super shot attempt.
And it was interesting in that timeout, Coach Dan Ryan brought the Fever in and said, hustle hard for this last 5. So they want in defence to go for every single ball. We just see there, Rudy Ellis has been brought onto the court to do her very best to shut down Wallam. Courtney Bruce goes out into the goal defence position on Boetta. And Sunday Ariang onto the wing. So a real shuffle here for this Fever defensive end.
Just saw a shot of Rudy Ellis, the former Swifts extended squad member. A couple of years at the Firebirds, now her first at the Fever. And her first court time today, Isoro Brown enjoying this defensive challenge.
Well, the Firebirds defensive end here is doing everything right on Glasgow and Fowler, just coming up with the wins. And the transition down court, there's just no defensive pressure from the Fever. So the Firebirds well and truly with their tails up at present.
Dunkley with a nice lob assist to Wallam. This time it's short and flat for Boetta. Valiant for Wallam, and we are in Suncorp super shot territory. That one off the mark was never going in.
And unfortunately there for the Fever, Ruby Ellis just giving away a cheap little penalty under the post, allowing Boetta to take another shot. Fever,
Held ball.
Amazing work there from the Queensland Firebirds. That defensive pressure stunning the Fever. They've just got no options coming forward.
And suddenly the home team has a 5-goal lead. Maybe about to be 6. The Firebirds with their biggest lead since the start of the game. Valiant only just clearing the fingers of Bruce, but the Fever get the ball. Now Kosh, very close to the sideline.
And you can just see here, Vinny Azuro-Brown's being called against Fowler. And Fowler looks to the umpire and says, "Thank you. I've been telling you that all game."
So Anstis goes through Ariang and Kosh back to her centre. Glasgow. The Suncorp super shots.
Well, that will be welcomed from the West Coast Fever. Sasha Glasgow bringing the Fever back to 3.
She's having her 50th National League game today, Sasha Glasgow. A South Australian product. Boetta. From a long way out, she says, "I can score in super fashion as well." That one's worth 2. Glasgow to Fowler. Does she go again for 2? And she'll get to take it again. Instead giving it for Ellis.
Well, Sasha Glasgow, hasn't she risen to the occasion in this last 5, knowing that the super shot is the Fever's best friend.
That was Ellis. Glasgow scoring, Ellis defending. So Boetta with the throw-in. Dunkley straight back to Gretel. Final minute of the first half. The Firebirds by 4.
And Emma Kosh just all on her lonesome over there. But Janelle Fowler looking for that super shot, and she sinks it.
Janelle Fowler, her first super shot of the game. We don't see many of them from her.
She's looking like she wants to take them, though. And that's the intensity of this game. It's fast, it's physical, and it's an absolute shootout. But Courtney Bruce.
Wallam can go again. And it jumps out for a second time. She can't finish with a super shot, but Janelle Fowler did. And as a result, it's 2 the difference at half-time. Firebirds 36, Fever 34. The match of the round, living up to its billing, will break on Fox Netball after we hear from Sharon Finnan-White, who's going to speak with one of the star performers over the first 2 quarters. And Sharon, Courtney Bruce is standing by.
Courtney, such frantic pace in that first half. How does it feel out there?
Oh, it definitely feels really fast. We knew this was going to be a tough game against Birdies. Realistically, they're the same as us in the shooting and defensively, so it's been a good battle.
Absolutely. So what are you going to need to do now to, I guess, lift for this next half?
I think it's really hard to get any clean ball out there, so anything that we do get, we have to be able to punish at the other end. And I think we just have to have the confidence to let it go. We're strong options. We're really fit. We're just going to put it in.
Well, good luck for the second half.
Thank you.
It is half-time at Nesson Arena. Suncorp Super Netball round 3 continuing with the Firebirds out by 2 at the big break. The first quarter, it was 18 each. The Firebirds won it 18-16. Their coach, Dan Ryan, is standing by to give us a few words. Dan, as I mentioned, they pipped you in the second quarter. Where do you need to improve post-half-time?
Well, I think most importantly, it's about enduring the challenge. It's a tight game, end-to-end type of stuff. So, yeah, stay with the contest, I think.
Dan, I'm going to be a bit sneaky here. Can you give us some insight into that starting lineup? Verity Simmons on the bench. Now we see Chelsea Pittman in that wing attack position and Verity Simmons in that centre. What were you hoping by that tinkering with that lineup early in that first and second quarter?
Well, Vez hasn't really trained all week. She's been a bit unwell, so our hand was forced a little bit with that. But she's been cleared this morning to play, so good to see her out on the court in the second half.
Danelle Wallum, you coached her overseas. What does she bring as a player, and how do you shut her down?
Well, I think full team effort to shut her down and mixing up the way we play against her, critically important. But, you know, as Australia can see, she's an absolute weapon and enjoying seeing her do well. But hoping not so much today, I suppose.
Well, here she is, Dan, and we'll let you go and coach the rest of this game out. Thanks again for your time.
Cheers, thank you.
So Fowler scores the first goal after half-time, answered by Wallum. No surprises there. And it's business as usual compared to what we've seen in the first half. So Chelsea Pittman onto the floor, Verity Simmons onto the floor. And Sasha Glasgow onto the scorer sheet again. She looks determined.
Well, Chelsea Pittman and Gabby Simpson are a key matchup in that wing attack and wing defence role. Those two players know each other's games so well. They played at the Firebirds for a few seasons together and have spent plenty of time playing against one another on the international stage. We know Chelsea has represented England more recently.
So Bueta's miss taken by Bruce and quickly up the floor for Fowler to draw the contact on Yusoro Brown and then score.
Well, and that's exactly why we haven't seen Verity Simmons on court for this first half. She obviously hasn't been feeling all that well this week at training, so a big loss there for the Fever not to have her. Interested to see how she holds up in this second half.
Yusoro Brown just dragging Fowler closer. Who's in business mode. She's got the game face on, Janelle. Hasn't had it all her own way in the first half. You saw her complaining about some of what she thought was the rough treatment.
Already in this third quarter, the pace of the game has just slowed down a little bit. These players, I was wondering how they could keep the pace up as Courtney Bruce does what she does best. A little two-hand deflection and just pulls it in nice and strongly. It's what she's so good at, is coming up with the big ball-winning moments when it counts.
Bakewell Doran goes down hard. Pittman for Glasgow quickly on to Fowler. And quickly the Fever go out by 2, having trailed by...
Well, Chelsea Pittman's game is all about her timing and her strength. So all of a sudden you can see the dynamic of this attacking end for the Fever just change a little bit, whether that's the pace coming out of it a little bit more. She's such a clever, smart player.
What a luxury to have as a training partner, someone who's played for Australia, who's played for England and is hoping to play for England at the Commonwealth Games. We saw her last weekend with the Giants as a replacement player. She's back with the Fever and in the rotation this afternoon. Much needed by the Firebirds just to settle a little after half-time where they had the momentum, but they've lost it quickly post the break.
Yeah, exactly right, Matt, as we see a win here for them now. But in round one, their third quarter, they were still asleep, it seemed, coming out of the half-time change rooms last week. Just another silly little error there, though, for the Firebirds.
That was the loss that cost them in round one, 70-65 against the Vixens. You're right, the third quarter letting them down, given that they only lost in the end by 5.
And last week against the Lightning, their last quarter was their worst. So they seem to start the game well, but the challenge for the Firebirds is that consistency for the entire 60 minutes.
As you just saw there, trailing in the third quarter, 6-2. Having squared off the first and won the second by 2. Sunday Ariane penalised there, and Danielle Wallam can set her sights and score. Simmons for Pittman.
Ebony Azuro-Brown just being called for tunnelling under the player. Umpires have no time for that, just to take that space away from the goal shooter. They need to be given the space to be able to land, and Janelle Fowler just gave herself a little fist pump there. Happy to get that win.
Bueta was optimistic, perhaps, looking for Wallam. Courtney Bruce was right there, but Wallam wins the day. And tumbles another one down.
And it was interesting to hear Courtney Bruce at halftime just say, when we get the wins, they're hard come by. Oh, what a pass! Chelsea Pittman, her vision. She just turned and hailed that ball in. 2 passes and a successful goal for the Fever. Just goes to show how dangerous and how quickly scoring the green team is. That's
the most animated we've seen Janelle Fowler so far in the game, celebrating with Chelsea Pittman after she delivered for Fowler to score. Bueta for Wallam. Marianne can't do enough.
Oh, Ruby Bakewell-Doran and Sasha Glasgow going head-to-head there.
So many great battles across the court. Laura, we came here looking at Wallam, Fowler, Dunkley against Glasgow, Ravalian Simmons, you saw O'Brien, Bruce. You just keep on going.
Well,
it's good netball.
It absolutely is. You look at Wallam, who's come, obviously playing her first Suncorp Super Netball season, has the opportunity to be marked against the best goalkeeper in the world, or one of the best, in Courtney Bruce. So it gets to test her ability. Is she as good as what we've been talking about? Well, you would have to suggest yes, when she's sitting at 26 from 28, 93%. We also spoke a lot about Sunday Ariang pre-match. She's got the opportunity to match herself against the best goal attack in the world, and Lara Dunkley. She cannot believe the fact that that one has gone against her.
Yeah, the Firebirds were celebrating. They couldn't believe the call. Now Sunday Ariang back for Anstis. And the Fever will look to settle here. There's a bit of life about the Firebirds defensively right now. Glasgow to Simmons, who sits it up, and there's the 6'5" reach, the 198 centimetres of Janelle Fowler on show.
And that's why Verity Charles is just so, interesting call there, but that's what Verity Charles is so good at. She's not afraid to put the ball in even when it's a 2-on-1 defensive situation on Fowler. She'll do the little fake, draw the defenders, and then she'll just pop it in.
Now Bueta throwing it back for Dunkley, and a reset here. Ravalian. Gretel trying to work her way closer, and Danielle Wallam reaches above them all and scores.
Verity Simmons. Oh, we see an error there from the Fever. The Firebirds are happy to take that one.
Pittman was looking for Anstis. The ball beat them over or out of court.
Interesting, Matt. Verity Simmons currently sitting on no Nissan net points, or 0 Nissan net points, I should say, at present.
Bueta for the Firebirds. They get it back to 1. And they can level us right here with this possession. Bueta was looking for Wallam. Instead, Dunkley sits it up. Danielle can't collect, and they've given it to the Fever. Courtney Bruce.
Just a few little penalty calls going against the Firebirds here. Just a little bit messy. Getting pulled, giving the Fever some easy takes. You see there 9 obstructions, 35 contacts to the Firebirds, only 30 to the Fever. Takes the penalty count, 46 for the Firebirds, 40 to the Fever.
So 45 seconds until we enter Suncorp super shot territory, the power 5, the last 5 minutes of each quarter, but for the time being, it's an HCF tactical timeout. We'll have a listen to Megan Anderson address the Queensland Firebirds.
That's steady. When you enter, don't go all the way deep and then towards baseline, enter on the 45 so that you can choose base or top. Does that make sense? Just straight away. Face each other and then someone will come back. Don't get in the fight. Remember, we can work it around. Yeah. You're coming back all the time, all the time. Let's go. Awesome, see in the back. Keep it up. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go.
So the Firebirds with a reset when it comes to Nissan net points across the first 2 rounds. They have 4 players in the top 10. Weta, Dunkley, Rebellion and Wallam. The Fever, they have 3 in the top 10 in Courtney Bruce. She leads everyone. Janelle Fowler and Sasha Glasgow. So 7 of the top 10 Nissan net point scorers are in this game. Who's going to be the star as we head down the stretch? Who wants to win this game for their team? Pittman working hard with Glasgow. Bit of distance in that shot, but no problem. Still 30 seconds from the Suncorp super shot. Doran finds Dunkley. And now Gabby Simpson to Bueta. And Verity Simmons called for the obstruction. And Rebellion just sits it up. And there's Danelle Wallam.
Interesting just to see the Firebirds attack and what they're setting up there instead of that swing and running around. Seeing just a few more screens being set. Down this end, Sasha Glasgow, the super shot counts. She puts it in just as the hooter goes.
She liked it. Sasha Glasgow.
We spoke a lot about the key matchups today, but Lara Dunkley and Jess Anstis aren't leaving anything in the tank either. Lara Dunkley just hitting the deck there. In that timeout with the Firebirds, we heard Megan Anderson just say to Dunkley, don't get caught up in it. Just keep a level head.
Well, I mentioned those Nissan net point leaders across the first 2 rounds, heading them all. Courtney Bruce and Sharon Finnan-White. You think she might be the star from here to get the Fever home?
You know, since the start of the quarter, and like Firebirds are going to have to be really careful because she's just come to life. She's getting those high balls coming into Wallam, so Firebirds are going to have to try to fake the ball, get her off the body, because we know she loves to go and have a crack at anything. So yeah, they're just going to be really careful.
Courtney Bruce, she's sitting on 3 intercepts and 2 deflections, and I agree with Sharon. You get the sense that she's just building her way into this game. We just see a little bit of a lapse down the other end, the Firebirds' defensive end, especially in that last play there, just a missed rebound.
Janelle Fowler grabbed her own rebound and scored softly after that. So the Fever by 5. Last few minutes of the third quarter. Bakewell Doran gets it wrong, and Glasgow for a Suncorp super shot. Instead, it's Fowler. And we'll go back to centre circle. What's the answer here for the Firebirds? How do they find some life late in the third? Danelle Wallam trying to light it up from distance, off the mark, collected by Sunday Ariang.
Yeah, and a missed shot there just gives the Fever another opportunity. Interesting to see down this end. Ebony Azuro-Brown is getting whistled heavily for the contacts. Let's not forget, Janelle Fowler went up to the umpire at the end of that first quarter break. This is the same umpire, so that's firm in his head about the close attention that Ebony Azuro-Brown was giving Fowler. Ebony Azura-Brown just needs to tidy her game up here a little bit. She can't wait for that third quarter break to hear that direction from the coaches.
Glasgow. Another Suncorp super shot.
And it takes the sting out of the crowd here at Nissan Arena. It's quiet and forces Wallam to have to go for the super shot, which she absolutely nails.
They needed that, the Firebirds, to get it back to 7 the difference. Quickly up the floor, Simmons for Fowler. Pittman just puts it on the floor for Glasgow, who leaves her shot short, and Ruby Bakewell-Doran collects the rebound. Yasoro Brown with the restart through Simpson. Dunkley, Boeta, Bakewell-Doran again, and there's the intercept taken by Courtney Bruce.
Yeah, amazing work there, Courtney Bruce. Sharon Finnan-White called it, and that easy transition down the court to Fowler under the post. Let's take a look at this beautiful intercept. She saw Gretel Boeta driving out and had her name written all over it. That's where she's so dangerous, and that's what the Firebirds need to do, is to fake her out into those pockets and open up Wallam underneath the post.
Gretel Boeta, she gets the Suncorp super shots. The 2-point goals are falling freely at Nissan Arena. Off the fingertips of Simpson, so Sunday Ariane with a throw-in.
And that's another little one there. You could see Ebony Azura-Brown as we see Glasgow get barreled out of the way.
The Fever by 7. Glasgow's having a busy third term.
Well, she's not too impressed with that last passage of play. She got well and truly pummeled, sliding across the wooden floorboards here at Nissan Arena.
Part of the defender's role out there is to concede penalties, I suppose, to try and put the shooters off their game as much as possible. There's Boeta dropping another one, but you touched on it a moment ago, Laura. You saw O'Brien. It's a 15. Courtney Bruce 12. As the bodies are colliding here in Brisbane.
And that player, Kimberly Jenner, has come on with blistering pace and speed. Ruby Bakewell-Doran going to the bench. Goal defence, and Kimberly Jenner coming on. Courtney Bruce, what a rebound. And have a look at this transition for the Fever. It's just so fast. The Firebirds players are nowhere to be seen.
Glasgow dropping it down for Fowler. And that is the end of the third quarter. A fantastic one for the West Coast Fever. They're trying to join the Vixens on top of the table by staying unbeaten here in Brisbane. They've won the third term 22-14. Talk about charging to the lead. They're out by 7 with 1 to play. You're watching Fox Netball. A penny for your thoughts. Stacey Marinkovic, Diamonds coach. He's got a Commonwealth Games squad to announce in a couple of weeks and is casting an eye over the talent on show in Suncorp Super Netball. I wonder how her leanings are in this one, given that she played for the Firebirds. Of course, most recently she coached the Fever, and the Fever Player of the Year gets the Stacey Marinkovic medal now. So good to have the national coach in, watching these teams go at it and watching her most recent club, the Fever, power to the lead in the third quarter with a 23-14 term, Laura Geitz.
Well, we get to ask her those very questions at the end of this match, don't we, Matt? She's going to be joining us at the end of this game, and we can pick her brain on all that's unfolding out here on court. And there's plenty of it, let's be honest.
Nissan net points from a team perspective, 113-27 in favour of the Fever in the third quarter. 113-27. That's why they've powered to the front. But can they stay there?
Oh,
It's a
Courtney
really
Bruce!
determined huddle by the Firebirds, but that's been forgotten on that pass.
Well, you have to wonder how many times do the Firebirds need to throw that ball, and they've got out of jail free there. But Courtney Bruce down this end just winning the ball. Look at her, she's on her feet, just hunting.
And at the other end, it was a fumble by Fowler from the feed by Pittman. Here's Wallam. Can she stand up in the fourth quarter and drag the Firebirds back into it. Back into the lead like they were for much of the first half.
And a beautiful passage of play there from the Fever. Textbook. Chelsea Pittman just finding beautiful second phase depth and delivering a lovely feed in there to Fowler.
Lara Dunkley looking to go back to Bueta. Now Ravalian, the captain.
You can see here this structure that the Firebirds did so well on the Fever in those first 2 quarters. The Fever defence are doing that on the Firebirds attackers now. They're just playing that real little cat and mouse game, coming off the body, playing the space. That 2-on-1 on Wallam, making the goal attack do the work.
Danielle Wallam, 33 of 40 shooting. She's made only 3 of her 8 Suncorp super shots. Glasgow to Fowler. No scoreboard pressure on the Fever. They're still a long way from power time, obviously. Dunkley.
Firebirds just struggling there, absolutely. Great work, Verity Simmons and the Fever. That defensive pressure. There's nobody coming forward for the Firebirds.
Anstis to Simmons. Now Pittman and Glasgow. Glasgow scores.
Well, let's talk about the change in the Fever attacking end, particularly in this second half through Simmons, her injection, and Chelsea Pittman, what they've added to this game. So we just see an HCF timeout called by the Queensland Firebirds. But just the introduction of those 2 players, what they've brought to this Fever attack end. Simmons and Pittman working so beautifully with one another. Gabby Simpson had a name written over that one. Work the ball to the circle edge. Do not put our attackers under pressure by just throwing it. Hail Marying and hoping for the best. But the Firebirds, they need to start winning some ball in defence. Like we saw in that first half, they need to take the opportunity away from these Fever defenders. Courtney Bruce, you can see her, her confidence is up. That's when she's a dangerous player.
So down by 8, let's see what the Firebirds can do here defensively. As Simmons goes to Glasgow. And Glasgow's shooting today, 12 of 20, including 5 of 10 Suncorp super shots.
Well, she's had that full match, or it looks like she's heading that way, given that Alice Teague-Neald is still out with COVID. We often see that position, that goal attack position, be rotated around between Glasgow and Teague-Neald.
Here's Wallam.
Better work there, Kim Ravalian. Drew the little fake and just put a beautiful pass into Wallam underneath the post. Smart play from the Firebirds.
Glasgow to Fowler. She's a long way from home, so Simmons says, position yourself, Janelle, and I'll look after the rest, which he does. And this is too easy for the Fever at the moment in terms of the Firebirds trying to work their way back into the game, Sharon. How can the Firebirds mix it up defensively and try and unsettle the Fever a little?
Well, yeah, you're right, Matt. Actually, I was listening to Megan Anderson in the 2 huddles ago, and she was talking about she wanted her players ball side so they could force their players to the sidelines. But I'd like to see them try a bit of a box or diamond defence just to slow that ball down. We know how quickly the Fever are in transition. When they get the ball, it just comes down the court really fast. So putting on that box defence or zone defence through the middle or right from the backline throw-in may just slow it down a little bit.
Laura, I saw you nodding along then.
No, it's absolutely 100%. Sharon has hit the nail on the head. They need some variety in this defensive structure for the Firebirds. They're sitting back and playing a reactive game at the moment. Why they were effective in the first half was they were having a go at the ball. They were putting pressure on the first ball contest. It just seems like the sting has come out of this defensive line for the Firebirds, and that's credit to the play through the Fever, but they need to get up and about again if they're going to have a say in winning this game.
And Sasha Glasgow having a 50th game to remember as Bueta pulls in the pass, scores the goal, and they need to keep them ticking along as we head towards Suncorp super shot territory, but also come up with some stops, and that's easy for West Coast Fever. Quickly up the floor to Janelle Fowler, home alone. She does what she does, and it's 9 the difference.
Well, Chelsea Pittman has been outstanding since coming on the court. We see Wallam there just doing a little layup. Pittman, 30.5 Nissan net points. She's sitting at 12 feeds, 6 centre pass receives, 8 goal assists, and 1 deflection to her name. So an absolutely outstanding effort. Sasha Glasgow, no, where are the hands over on that one, Matt? She just had clear vision to the post, sunk that so nicely.
She came into this game with 52 goal assists. She's scoring a few herself this afternoon. Wallam. How close do they need to be heading into the final 5 when that 2-point shot opens up?
That is such a good question, and I don't know the answer, because with the super shot, you can sometimes look at a lead of 10 goals and it can disappear in absolutely no time. Kimberly Jenner. Her closing speed is her best attribute. She chased it down, but just no one there to back her up. And the ball just beat her over the sideline.
Glasgow to Fowler, who's strong, despite Jenner, despite Isoro Brown being in close proximity. That is why she has been league MVP 4 years in a row.
Oh, well, she's unstoppable, and you have to even suggest Sunday Ariang just getting fingertips to that one. Whether the Firebirds even look at mixing up that defensive option, putting Bakewell Doran back out on court alongside Jenner, could be an option. Azuro Brown just seems a little quiet for my liking, particularly in this 3rd and 4th quarter.
67-59. Fever in control for the time being. Here's Pittman. Back to Fowler.
Chelsea Pittman has this uncanny ability that I have not seen any other player do, where she just puts her hand on the ball and traps the ball. She's got that touch football background. She won't mind me saying this, but she's got big hands, and she just seems to be able to trap that ball and nobody's getting it. Such a skillful player.
Courtney Bruce called for the contact. Danielle Wallam scores. But it's goal for goal at the moment. The Firebirds need something defensively, and the Fever are making it very difficult for them.
They do, Matt. This is the opportunity. With 6 minutes to go, the Firebirds need to step up. It needs to come from there. And there it is.
Stepping by Fowler. So here's Simpson, Bueta.
Oh, and unlucky Danielle Wallam, but the umpire just calling that attacking contact. Smart play there from Courtney Bruce.
Here's Simmons. Throwing it up for Fowler. She wants a better look. So Pittman back to Fowler. And it's back to 9. So an HCF tactical timeout, still 50 seconds from power time. 69-60, the Fever off the back of their big third quarter where they won it 23-14. They're out by 1 in this fourth period. Dan Ryan pulling the right strings at half-time, sending Verity Simmons out, Chelsea Pittman out there, and the game turned after half-time.
Okay, we're going to sit high in our position and really pressure them to have to take rush 2-point shots, which means watch out for the refeeds, Sunday the refeeds, and stay alive on the edge, all right? All the pressure on them, we're controlled, we're calm in attack, scoreboard pressure our weapon, all right, let's go.
Two options to the ball attack. I know it's hard work, but we need to make the effort to lose them and then give them an option. Yeah. And in defence, I think it's a collective thing. We can knock it off the pedal there. So we've got 5 minutes left to put up with that. Here we go. Fever on 3, watch me 3, Fever!
Some senior voices heard there. Dan Ryan, Chelsea Pittman, Courtney Bruce. What did you make of what Dan had to say, Laura?
Well, it's obviously a tactical timeout that the Fever call. We've seen it twice this game. Just before they hit that Suncorp super shot period, they call the timeout just to reset. Where are they heading? Are they going for the 2-pointers? Interesting to hear there Dan Ryan say the scoreboard pressure is our friend, and that's exactly what it is for the Fever. They're dangerous when that scoreboard keeps ticking over. The opposition just know that they have the ability to score quickly and that they are dangerous.
Megan Anderson will like that out of the timeout. Sharon Finnan-White, what did Megan have to say to her troops at that timeout?
Well, Matt, with 5 minutes to go, she wants everyone to come out and have a crack at anything that comes near them. They've got nothing to lose. They're starting to catch up here, so whatever they can pull in and convert is going to be good.
Well, they've got two very different outlooks, don't they, these two teams, for the last 15 minutes. You've got that direction from Megan Anderson saying they don't have the luxury to sit back. You need to go out and win the ball. On the other hand, we heard Dan Ryan say, we're calm, we're composed, we're in control. The work that they did in that third quarter, the Fever. Bad luck there for Gretel Buetta and great work from Sunday Ariang. Dan Ryan, we're calm, controlled, and that's exactly what they are for the work that they did in that third quarter.
Here's Pittman, now Simmons, Ariang, Glasgow quickly to Fowler. Good stuff by the Fever, they're in control of this one with 4.5 to play. 10 the difference. Pittman and Simmons. Fowler with a fumble, but it's cleaned up quickly by Simmons.
What the Fever have done so well in this game is just weather the storm. The Firebirds threw everything at them. They threw physicality, speed, and the Fever just hung with them, didn't they?
And they're happy to work the clock. They're out by 10. There's no pressure on them.
And that's probably been the one element of the Fever's game that has changed over seasons, is that they were a team that would cough up possession quite a bit. Now we see a very controlled outfit there. We know that they can score so quickly, but when they have ball in hand, they are able to convert it and really, I suppose, put that scoreboard pressure on. But Wallum, beautiful super shot from her.
3.5 left, 72-61. And the Firebirds crowd applauds that.
And that was off the back of a nice little defensive effort from Gretel Buetta. Sunday Ariang was just off balance throwing the ball in.
Simpson. Jenna.
But the Fibers have just got nothing coming forward, only one option. Speaks so much about Wallum lining up for the 2-point shot here. Luckily for her, it's come back for another penalty shot.
And again, Bruce, then Ariane. Is it third time lucky? That's an air ball.
Yeah, and that's probably been one of the biggest errors we've seen from Wallam since her introduction into this Suncorp Super League, and that's credit to this defensive pressure of Bruce in the Fever defensive end.
Glasgow to Fowler, and this will make it even more difficult for the home team, who are headed for back-to-back losses on their home floor, interrupted by that big win against the Sunshine Coast Lightning. So, moving forward, round 4 comes very quickly. Starts on Tuesday, the first midweek round of the season. Unbeaten Melbourne Vixens against what appears to be set for the unbeaten West Coast Fever.
Absolutely, it's a quick turnaround for all these teams. Saturday, Sunday, backing up Tuesday, Wednesday. Great shot there, Greta Buetta.
And Buetta says, hang on, Matt, just hold your horses. 8 the difference, 1:45 left. They need a string of Suncorp super shots and a big defensive showing. Here's Simmons. Now Glasgow. Glasgow has the 2.
Well, Sasha Glasgow, she's 10 from 14, 71%. 5 from 10, 50% when it comes to the super shots. It's been an area that we've spoken a little bit about in previous seasons, that goal attack position. Natalie Medhurst, one of the best goal attacks in the business. Oh, great work there. Ariang and Wallam just keeping the ball alive. Oh, there she goes again.
Both teams.
Absolutely. Sunday, Ariang just really making a presence felt in this last 15.
What a strong second half it's been by the Fever. They hit the break under pressure. Down by 2. They win the third quarter 23-14. Ahead in the final period 18-15. Looking ahead to Tuesday night, Vixens Fever. Is there one team in front of the other, Laura, or is it too close to call with only 3 games in the sample jar?
Well, absolutely. We just see there another super shot from Greta Buetta. It's a tricky one. Match of the round, so to speak. Look at us getting too far ahead of ourselves already. We're talking round 4.
Well, it's not too far ahead. It's coming our way Tuesday night on Fox Netball. Then into Wednesday as well. In fact, the Firebirds in action on Tuesday as well against the Giants in Sydney. Simmons and Pittman here with it. Inside the final minute of what will be a big win for the Fever.
Well, Matt, you asked me pre-match of the Fever premiership contenders this year, and we see there, super shot. Again, it's just an absolute shootout by that lady on your screen, Sasha Glasgow, 100%. When they can put out a performance like this and come home so strongly, it's about building that consistent four-quarter performance from the Fever.
Boyer for 2. She's giving the crowd something to cheer. But they're going to finish behind on the scoreboard in this one. Simmons to Pittman, and they throw it away, but it doesn't matter because the West Coast Fever stay unbeaten in Suncorp Super Netball 2022. Janelle Fowler cracks a smile. Plenty of support through the mid-court. Her defence, led by Courtney Bruce, stood up as well. And a big, big second half delivers the Fever a big, big win. West Coast 77, Queensland 69. Well, the performance there that Dan Ryan will be very proud of because they answered the challenge. They handled what the Firebirds threw at them in the first half, and then they dominated post-half-time.
And the 2 big spearheads of the Fever, the ladies we spoke about pre-match, they're on your screen. Courtney Bruce, outstanding in defence. Janelle Fowler up one end. When you've got players like that able to do what they can do and step up when it counts, and that's exactly what we saw from this Fever defensive end today, led by Courtney Bruce.
Yep, Sharon is standing by with the Fever captain and 10-year veteran of this club.
Well, Courtney, congratulations on your Player of the Match award today. You had 2 rebounds, 5 intercepts and 2 deflections. How did it feel out there?
Oh, I didn't feel like that. It felt like an absolute battle. We've obviously had the pleasure of having Nellie in our environment, and she's absolutely incredible, so it was an absolute battle today.
So the Firebirds came out firing in that first half. What was it that got you guys come out firing in that second half to get the win?
I think we just knew that it was going to be a 60-minute grind. Like I said earlier, they're very similar to us, and I think we just needed to treasure the ball more. And bringing Chelsea in and Bez and everything, it just gave us a bit more of speed and some depth in our attack, and the girls absolutely fired.
And it was great to see your whole bench get on court today. You've got great depth there.
Yeah, we do, and that's something that Dan's really made sure that we know that we've got the great depth and we're training it. And yeah, really good to have the girls out there because it's going to be important come finals time.
So just finally, next week you take on the Vixens in Melbourne. What would you like to take from today's match heading into that match?
I just think our grind in defence is really important, and Vixens is a team that don't cough up much ball, so it's going to be the same against them. And I think just having the confidence to let the ball go into Janelle, I think that's going to be really important in the Vixens.
Well done, and congratulations on the win today.
Thank you.